Hey, Jamie.
Hey.
So I wanted to film 13 episodes that talk about our personal life and then can it and really focus the movie on the professional life, which is the fun part.
Okay.
But I've been really obsessed with trying to explain my side and your side of the story, and Thanksgiving was such an epitomal example of the way you and I are treated by our families.
True.
That eventually, if people don't behave themselves, I will expose the reality of what passive-aggressive bullies are able to do. So your Thanksgiving, I'm able to discuss, and so are you, because
I can
that's
discuss it. Sure. I
right.
can't die.
So one of the things that I want to remind everyone is that the victims in all of this are the 5 children that are really being manipulated by certain adults, and it's not me and it's not you.
No.
Let's put it like that. Now, what I say about that is that, Jamie, why don't you give the audience at home, since we're talking about such an obscure subject such as our family life, a little background history on as to why you're upset about Thanksgiving.
Well, I was upset about Thanksgiving because the lack of...
What happened? Don't be so
So
ominous.
I was not invited to Thanksgiving dinner at my dad's house and stepmom's house.
All right, can I give a little background?
Yeah.
Because I think that you're too involved. All right, so check this out. So Jamie's parents were divorced when she was like 19 years old or something like that.
Yes, I was the freshman.
It was
sophomore
a
in
very,
college.
very public, embarrassing divorce because her father was caught sleeping with a married woman who was on some sort of a soccer program with him. Is this correct?
That's the story I heard, yeah.
Okay. In reality, he ends up starting a whole new life, and he has 4 small children, a 19-year-old girl, which is you,
Yes.
all the way down to a 10-year-old boy, correct?
Yeah, 9, 10 at the time, yeah.
All right. So he has small children. Irregardless of all of that, he dumps his family and starts a whole new life without any
And she
regard.
has children.
And she has children, without any regard for the damages that are being done to his children.
Correct.
We fast forward. Jamie finds herself in a similar predicament, except there is no affair. There's just abuse. And her father, rather than standing by you, has become very close friends with your ex-husband, who is actually the person who is abusing his daughter or abused his daughter. Is this true? You can't respond because the divorce made sure that only I can explain that Jamie's a victim of domestic abuse. She has tolerated verbal abuse, manipulation, as well as countless other things that she probably doesn't want me to discuss. But unfortunately, when you have birds of a feather, they're gonna flock together. So when you look at your father and his actions and the way he treated your mother and the rest of your family, you can see why he would get along with someone who is actually abusing his daughter. And when you talk about things like this, you need to explain to the audience at home of why you maintained a relationship with your father in spite of the pain that he caused you and your siblings. Why?
I think the truth. I think I
Why would you lie?
desperate for his affection and his love and his approval.
Wow, okay. I appreciate that. We find ourselves, all children find ourselves in very similar positions, so I believe that's a relatable answer. Now, did you do anything to your father?
Nothing, never, ever.
So why were you not invited to a Thanksgiving dinner that he hosted? He could have chosen to invite you, right?
Yeah. I mean, he could have sent me an email. He could have called me. He could have texted me.
Now, your father. Let's
None
talk
of
about
these-
financial support. Has your father financially supported you since the age of 19?
No.
Have you ever lent money or given money to your father? Have you ever
I'm
lent money
probably
or
not.
given money to your mother?
Oh my God, yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
Probably $100,000.
right now, Jamie Resnick, who as a child was taking care of her adult family, her adult parents, her father emotionally and her mother financially, has been
Exactly.
completely ostracized from her family for doing nothing more than taking a job working for me, losing weight, being happy, and saying, hey, I'm in a loveless marriage where I am a victim of massive amounts of abuse and manipulation, and whether or not you choose to believe me, please just simply stay out of it.
I made like a small change. I tried to years ago.
Your
when I
mother's
cut
name
off
is
my
Nettie?
mother.
What's her
Yes,
full
when
name?
I cut off my mom.
What is her full name? The
Nettie-
YouTube?
Nettie Hagman.
Nettie Hagman?
Yeah.
So Nettie Hagman, who has a serious drinking problem herself,
Yes.
has not had a paying job and has lived on men that she has dated, as well as her adult daughter, or teenage daughter who became an adult daughter, who has financially supported her.
And then her sons.
And her sons, of course. You know, she's like a good manipulator. She will guilt them into living with them and doing a bunch of other things rather than being an adult. So let's talk about that for a second. How's your relationship with your mother right now?
I don't speak to her.
What did you do to not speak to her? Did you offend her in some way?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
So then what would be her motivation? Now, does she speak to your ex-husband?
Yes.
So now your parents, who are both divorced, that do not speak to each other, have
Hate each
opted
other.
to have a relationship with your ex-husband
Yes.
rather than you.
Correct.
Now, one would say, hey, maybe there's something to that. Maybe, and I'm going to tell everyone at home right now that the common link behind all this is that everyone hates Jamie.
Yes.
Jamie's own family accuses me of manipulating Jamie against them while they abuse her by inviting her children to Thanksgiving and completely ignoring you, your feelings, and everything else.
Yeah.
It's Thanksgiving when people are supposed to come together.
Yeah.
But your family has sided with the person who you actually go on YouTube, and now you're not allowed to talk about it, but I will talk about it. Jamie did everything in the marriage of Jared and Jamie.
It's amazing to me because the flip of the switch that these people somehow want a relationship with him after he would be so annoyed with them for my doing the things I did.
Right.
Like,
Jared had nothing
Like-
positive to say about your family.
exactly. Nothing. So the fact that there's this now relationship built on just the hate of me
Yeah,
or wanting to see
the enemy
me
of my
fail.
enemy is my friend.
Exactly. So like that's the entire relationship is built on that. There's nothing else. Like for anybody to say that we're doing it for the children is just
Yeah.
a lie, because if you're doing it for the children, you would have extended an invitation to their mother for a
To not
Thanksgiving
make them
meal.
feel uncomfortable,
right? To not
right.
make them feel uncomfortable about
But the truth,
where are
the
you
truth,
going?
the
What are you
truth
doing?
is, how else would they hurt you? By manipulating your children and by isolating you. In conjunction with the lawsuit that we filed, it should really make them vomit as to what kind of human beings they are. And we're talking about Julian Casey Hagman. We're talking about what's her stepmom's name? Janie. And was your mom there at Thanksgiving dinner?
Oh, I doubt it. They hate each other so much.
They hate each other, but they find a mutual language in hating you more. A woman who did nothing but was kind to them their whole lives. You basically raised your three brothers on their behalf because they were inept as adults.
It was by raising my mother, like by keeping her in a mental headspace and a financial place to keep her somewhat steady to be a mother figure was what I did.
But the reality is that you were only doing it because you weren't conscious of how much people were using you.
Oh, 100%.
My manipulation of what I did was I opened your eyes. I said, Jamie, look at how imbalanced your relationships are. Look at how much you do for all of these people. Like your brother, when I met you, he broke up with the woman that he had just had a kid with.
I don't think they've had it yet.
They've been, like, I wish for healthy humans, and when you talk about childbirth, there's a lot of people that can just stand up on a soapbox and say, we're not able to have kids. And somebody like me is like, well, you know, I got to shut up because I'm very lucky, and you're very lucky.
Very lucky.
And I think that when you talk about this guy, Julian Hagman, he was living on your couch crying, watching Friends, and then a year later, he shows up at my house, coked up out of his mind, looking to fight me. Looking for beef on my own property because...
Weird, like,
what was the conflict? Because, like, you're brainwashed. You had a full-paying job.
Let's go. We're getting out of here.
Yeah,
What?
like as if you're... Like, that was 4 years ago. Nothing has changed since then. And they all had Thanksgiving. Do you know how awkward it must be to watch this video and realize that, hey, this woman is their family?
But you know what's crazy? My ex-in-laws went, and they were used for years, came up with excuses.
Oh, wait, that's the best part. Jared's parents, Dennis and Janet Resnick, who are felons and commit money laundering and have basically sustained their entire retirement on not paying the U.S. government the proper taxes, as well as shills for a money laundering operation that involves gift cards. Happy Thanksgiving, Janet and Dennis Resnick. You guys are the examples of what's wrong with Livingston, New Jersey, where on the front, you act like normal people, but in the background, you actually cause massive damage to everything you touch. My name is Dan Reeses, and I think this was very productive.